Hey, welcome to the Breakthrough Creative. I'm so glad you're here. I'm your host, John McDavitt. We're going to be talking about the business of art and the art of business like we do every week. And I really am excited about today's episode because I'm going to share with you a tool that I have used in my career that has been incredibly powerful, and it is not technology, and it costs nothing, and anyone can do it. So I'm going to start out by telling you a little bit about my journey when I was very young. You can see the gray in my beard. We did not have internet. We did not have, because nobody had it. It didn't exist yet. We had 5 channels maybe on television, and every now and then you'd come across a magazine that was pretty cool that might have some article in it about an artist. Maybe it would have photos of their work, and it was awesome. But there was no video. There was no way to learn. I mean, what we have today is so powerful, the way that we can search and seek out information and even make contacts with people. But back then, just didn't exist. And I think as much as it does exist today, there's still a barrier and a boundary between us and where we want to get to. Maybe less so for some than others, and I'm not necessarily talking about money or resources. I'm talking a little bit more about mindset. And the tool that I'm going to look at with you guys today is a mindset tool. And it is called visualization. Some people might call it daydreaming. Some people might just call it dreaming. Some people, I don't know what they'd call it. Maybe some people have never even thought of it, or they think it doesn't work. But I've experienced it working, and in a powerful way. So my background as a youngster was that I wanted to be a special effects makeup artist, so I started looking up all the information I could whenever I'd find an article on a makeup artist who had done something really cool in a movie. And then there were magazines that came out. There were horror magazines where they would give you some behind the scenes, and I would pore over the photos, and that was really cool. And then there were some other magazines like Cinefex that came out where those were deep dives. Like, they got into the technique, the technical aspect. The photos that they shared were incredible. But everything was still, it might as well have been on another planet for me, because there was nobody around here that I knew of who did work like that. As a matter of fact, there were no artists that I really knew. There was a guy at the mall who airbrushed t-shirts, who really didn't want to teach me or anybody else anything. And there was a guy at a sign shop. There were probably loads of sign shops around, but there was a guy at a sign shop who had me in for a little bit, but he was terrifying. So I was in for a day, and then I got away. But he was an artist in his own right. He painted letters, he painted signs, he designed stuff. It was very cool. Maybe I should have stayed on despite being terrified as like a 15-year-old kid of this guy. But nonetheless, so here I was kind of creatively landlocked. My high school counselors didn't know how to guide me. They didn't know what to do with me. I was a pretty good student, and so they were just kind of encouraged me to go to college and get a degree in engineering or something. And I realized, man, I was just never ever going to find a way, the regular way to a creative career. It just wasn't something that was A, B, C, D, take these steps and this will get you there. And honestly, I think that's just how life is. Like, even if you get kind of a tried and true degree, things change so quickly, and life is so crazy. You just don't know what's around the corner. I mean, we're in the time of COVID, right? And it's changed a lot of things. You're going to have resistance, I guess is what I'm saying. And with that resistance, you've got to be able to push against it, and you've got to have desire and determination, and then you got to have tools that are going to help you to stay the course, because it's easy to let the riptide pull you away from it. It's easy, to really get blown off course if you're not set in your mind that you're going to be whatever it is you want to be. For me, I wanted to be an artist who made money. Like that was it. I wanted to have a career as an artist, and I thought it was going to be in special effects makeup, and that was how I started my path, and it was a good path to start on because there was a lot of good things about it. But how on earth was I going to become a special effects artist if I didn't know any special effects artists, if I didn't have any of them around me? I was going to have to move, and I was going to have to find my way, but there was nobody to advise me. So when I was growing up, Michael Jordan was on the Bulls, and they were just starting their championship run, and I'm a sports guy. I like football, I like basketball, I like to play sports, but I didn't as a kid, and I didn't because my dad wasn't really into sports, and because of that, my dad wouldn't take me out to play sports. We would do art stuff, which I was really fortunate to have a dad who would let me paint a mural on the garage door and would invest in paints and materials for that, or ceramics or whatever it is we were doing. It was usually something creative. But I started to play a little bit of sandlot football when I was probably 14 or 15, probably when the Bears in '85 had won, and a lot of my buddies were playing football, and I kind of learned how to. I didn't even really know how to catch a ball up to that point, and so I was kind of learning on the fly, and and it was challenging, and I wanted to fit in, and I liked sports, and there was something in me that was competitive. So I think it is good for us to have more than just one avenue that we focus on, and it doesn't necessarily have to be sports, but I know for me, sports taught me about competitiveness and trying hard, and that if you keep running at the wall, you're going to improve. I experienced that in racquetball. I experienced it in football. I experienced it playing basketball. So anyway, that's enough about my sports. But as I was watching Jordan and the Bulls, they were really struggling to get past the Detroit Pistons for several years. And they finally got past them. And somewhere, somehow, I saw an interview or I read an article about an NBA player, and I think it was Jordan. And he was talking about how so much of the work that he does is mental, which was kind of mind-blowing for me because his job is so physical, right? We think about basketball players and they're going to run and dunk the ball, or they're going to shoot it from the three-point line, or they're going to be this incredible defender that jumps high and puts their hand up and blocks the competitor's shot. But Jordan was saying, and I believe again it was Jordan was saying something along the lines of 90% of his job is mental. It's about committing to a desired outcome, which for him was to win the NBA championship, and then the next year to win the NBA, right? It was the ultimate goal was to win. And he talked about how he would imagine himself making a shot. So he wouldn't necessarily do this on the court, right? He would imagine this during practice. He would imagine it maybe, laying in bed before he went to sleep, and he would imagine success. He would see his mechanics. He would see how he was going to leave the floor, how he was going to arc the ball up into the air to drop into the hoop. And And I thought, wow, that's fascinating. How's that going to work for me? And I started playing around with that a little bit with free throws, and my free throws improved. And I thought, okay, if this is working here, and then it worked in another sport I was playing, I thought this is probably going to work for my art career. So I started to imagine myself not being really good at art. I wasn't really concerned about that, because I felt like I wasn't professional level yet at 18, but I knew that I had the wherewithal to get there. Don't ask me how I knew. I just believed it. So maybe that's the really important cog here, is that I believed I was going to get better and improve. So, and I just worked at it and worked hard. You got to work at what you do. But I started to visualize myself in the company of incredible artists. I started to imagine myself in the company of high-end special effects artists, and even in the company of George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. And I imagined myself having lunch with them, like we were having a lunch, and we were having a really good time connecting, and that was it. Like I would practice that visualization that I belonged. And I think the reason why I practiced the belonging part was I didn't know anybody, so I didn't know if I belonged at that point. I hadn't done anything, I hadn't achieved anything, I didn't know anybody in the industry. So, the best thing I could do was really work to belong. And so I guess I had reached out to contact Dick Smith, who is an incredible makeup artist, and he was a mentor to me, but I didn't really know him, right? There's a difference between, somebody teaching you and somebody conveying information. And he was very friendly and all, but we didn't know each other yet. We only knew each other from phone conversations, and those were relatively short. So I'm going to tell you one particular story that is the culmination of that visualization exercise I did. And so you never know where amazing things are going to come from. Now, when I was 18, I was dating a girl who was a volleyball player, and she was very good, and they had a very serious team, and so she spent a lot of time practicing. And I would go out and I would sit in the stands and watch them practice. And the coach was a good guy. And he probably wondered, what's this kid doing hanging around the girls? Who's he doing here? And he gathered then that I was a boyfriend. I was interested in one of the girls. And he came over and he introduced himself and asked me who I was and what I was doing there. And it was cool. He was, looking after his team, and in particular looking after this one player, and wanted to find out if I was a good guy or not. And he asked me what I was interested in doing with my life, and I told him I was really interested in special effects makeup and films, and he said to me, my brother-in-law is in charge of all the props at Skywalker Ranch, which, that meant all the props for Star Wars, all the props for Raiders of the Lost Ark, everything that Lucasfilm did. And he asked me if I would like to meet him, if I would like to connect with him. And I said, yeah. So I can't remember how we did it, if he gave me his phone number or what it was, but I started talking with this guy out in California. And after a couple of years, I made a trip out to LA and then up to San Francisco. And the very first stop on the trip to visit one of the effects houses I was going to interview at was Skywalker Ranch. Now, this is where Star Wars is conceived and made, and it's like, wow, okay. So here I am getting through the checkpoint of security, and then we drive up the property and we go to this big kind of a warehousey looking building, and I go in and meet my contact, and he brings me upstairs. There was a huge library there, and there was some really cool looking car that wasn't even on the market that I guess George Lucas owned. And we go up the elevator, and then there's all the props. There's Darth Vader's costume. There's an 8-foot long Star Destroyer. There's like a 6-foot diameter Death Star. There's the Ark of the Covenant from Raiders of the Lost Ark. There's all these matte paintings, all the stuff from the Star Wars movies and all the other movies that Lucas had produced. And it was just the coolest experience. It was so cool to see all the stuff that I had only dreamed of seeing from the photos, to see what kind of detail people actually put into the models and into the painting and to the design that would look so cool on film for storytelling. And then my host took me across the property, and he told me George Lucas wasn't in that day, that he'd hurt his wrist and he'd staying home or something like that. And he brings me into their offices, which is this very, cool looking Americana house. And it's like a ranch style. Well, I don't know if it was ranch, but it had a couple floors to it. So we go into this building, and there's, Yoda in a case. There's all these beautiful paintings on the walls, these American painter paintings by who did Saturday Night Post paintings. He was an American painter, and I can't think of his name right now, but anyway, I'll probably edit that out. And then they had all of this gorgeous sculpted recycled redwood on the banister going up the stairs, and there were roses carved into it. And then my host brought me into this office, and it was George Lucas's office. And I'm standing there, and I'm thinking to myself, how on earth did I end up here? How did I get here? Like, it was so surreal. Well, it started by visualizing it. That's what started it. You don't get places if you don't have a dream, if you don't have a destination. So let me break down, why you should use visualization. Here are, 3 important points for using it. So first off, this is just kind of a headline of it. Visualizing your success and dreaming your success is something that we should all do. Because one, it helps us to prepare for success. When we visualize and dream what it is we want to do or where we want to be or whatever it is, if it's the winning shot in a game, if we visualize ourselves taking and making that shot, if we visualize ourselves like I did, belonging in that world that seemed so far away from me, it helped me to prepare for the moment. It helped me to prepare when that coach asked me, hey, do you want this information of my brother-in-law? Do you want me to connect you with him? And if I had gone, no, it's okay, if I'd been too shy. But I saw it as a way to make my visualization come true. So working on those visualization practices helped me to prepare for the moment, to say, yes, I do want to go do that. It helps you to prepare for the successes that are to come. 2, visualization gives us a goal to shoot for. Now, mine was kind of abstract, right? It was like belonging and being with. And here I'm picturing myself having lunch with these people and being in some kind of relationship with them, proximity. And no, I never met George Lucas, but I got to his office, and for me, it proved that I could probably get anywhere I wanted to in life. It was really wild. So it gave me this goal to shoot for, and just to be prepared for the opportunities that might arise that would lead me closer to my goal. And then the third reason to visualize your success is that it frames the impossible as possible. Okay? It frames the impossible as possible. Now, I'm using some exaggeration, right? Because it obviously wasn't impossible that I could get to Skywalker Ranch, but it might as well have been, because I didn't know anybody there. I didn't have any clear path there. But when I pictured in my mind that it's a place I could belong visiting, it made that impossibility or improbability feel possible. So when the moment came, I was ready to say, yeah, I'll go do that. That's cool. I want to meet that person. I want to see where this will lead. And so that third point, framing the impossible as possible, does something powerful. It gives us hope. It gives us hope that it can happen. Because when we haven't proved ourselves yet, when we don't have the contacts, when we don't know where we're going to end up, we need hope. We need the hope that it's possible that we could succeed. And so those are the 3 points that are just huge for me in regard to why you should use visualization, especially early on in your career, especially early on when you haven't achieved it yet, when you're just starting out, when you don't know the people, when you don't have the contacts. Okay, so how do you visualize? How do you actually go about practicing this? Because it's maybe a little bit weird to some of you out there. Like you're thinking, oh, I'm gonna go dream this thing, and okay, so it's just weird, and I'm sitting alone. Okay, first off, it can be a little weird if you're not used to doing it. Okay, anything new that you haven't done before is going to be weird until you I think about the first time I was in a karate class. It was weird because you're standing there, you're in a gi, you're running around, you don't know how to hit anybody or how to do anything. But after a few months, after a year, you belong, and you're actually running through these practices, and you can see where you need to get better. And so anyway, anything you try out for the first time may feel a little funny. So I think the first thing you need to do is get it into your head that you're just going to give it a shot and see how it works for you, okay? And be open-minded to it, or you won't experience any benefit except kind of wasting time and feeling silly. So the first thing you need to do is you got to get somewhere quiet, somewhere that's a comfortable place for you, and probably somewhere alone would be best. If you're sitting and daydreaming, visualizing with a bunch of friends around you and it's loud, it's going to be distracting. Or if you know that you've got a family member who maybe isn't supportive, you just set yourself up to win. So you're going to get yourself to a lonely place, a quiet place. Maybe it's in your room, maybe it's out in the middle of the woods, okay? I don't know where it is, but get to a place where you can, be comfortable, and you'll be able to kind of go inward and imagine stuff without being distracted. The second thing you want to do is you want to figure out what your goal is. Where do you want to go? Like, my goal was I wanted to belong. I wanted to be a part of that community. And so I pictured myself having lunch with all of these people. I don't think they all get together, okay? But I'm picturing myself having lunch with all of them, and we're having a good time. So I'm picturing something that's relational. I'm picturing something that is people gathering around food. It's fun. There's talking going on. And so it's kind of a caricature of what I was really after. But it got everything, all the ingredients that I really wanted together in one place that helped me to dream the place I wanted to end up at. Okay. So, kind of have that in mind. What is it that you want to do? Where do you want to be? If you are a musician and you play cello and you want to be in a certain orchestra, maybe you're going to imagine yourself, practicing with, I don't know if they have first, second, third seats in all these places still. I know that's how it was in high school, but maybe you're imagining yourself in Italy, because that's where this incredible orchestra is. And so you're imagining yourself just drenched in the culture there. And there's these composers that you want to work with, and there's a certain way that you strike your bow across the cello. I don't even know if you say strike your bow, but go with me because I don't play cello. And so you're creating this story that has a it has the elements of who you want to be with, and where you want to end up. Okay, so I think that's really powerful, and you need to imagine yourself belonging. You need to imagine yourself belonging there. Okay, and then imagine it, walk through it in your head. And that may feel very mechanical at first, and it probably will be because you're building the story, okay? So you may need to write it down. You may need to go to that level and write the whole thing out, every last detail. You may be more comfortable drawing it down. So draw it down, make a storyboard of it or a comic strip of it, whatever it is, in whatever style you work in. I didn't write any of this stuff down. I didn't draw it down. I just kind of did. I didn't even know what I was doing. I would just daydream it, imagine it. And then, if you have another way that you do it, maybe you're a dancer, and so you're going to dance it out. Or you're a singer, you're going to sing it out, or you're an actor, whatever it is that you do, and however is the best way for you to explore and communicate this visualization process to yourself. Do it that way. That's why it's so important to be alone, because there are people who just aren't going to understand what it is that you do. And, you want to be, I guess this is kind of my fourth point, you want to be careful who you share your dreams with, okay? And how you share your dreams with them. Because a lot of times people either they don't understand, so it's confusing to them, and they don't know how to help, so they're kind of, they can just be negative by not knowing how to help. Or maybe they, we live in a society where people like to make fun of each other, right? Maybe that's everywhere. And at least the culture I'm around, I notice people make fun of each other when they're trying to do something. And, that can be really disheartening. So you want to be careful about who you share your dreams with and how you share them, okay? How much detail you give. You want to kind of have a bunch of people who, or it doesn't have to be a bunch, it could be one or more people, either together or individually, who have your back, who are for you if you're going to share a dream with them, okay? And so the final thing, boy, bug's trying to get me. The final thing to do is you got to get to work, all right? You can't just sit in your quiet place imagining what it is that you're going to do, visualizing what you're going to do, without working at it, okay? Visualization is a tool. It's not the end all be all, okay? It's not going to be the thing that gets you there on its own merit. You got to make stuff. You got to create. You need to build value with your craft and your skills and your talent to belong in a creative environment that is going to pay you, right? Because we're talking about the business of art and the art of business. So, visualization is a powerful tool. I am looking forward to hearing from you. I would love to hear from you how visualization is working in your life. And again, I had said that visualization worked for me in powerful ways when I was younger, before I had had success. And now I don't really even think about it anymore. I just kind of assume I'm going to be successful. I'm going to get that contract that I go after. I'm going to be able to satisfy the needs of the client project, whatever it is. And, so visualization may be something that you do naturally if you have been in the business for a while, or if you've been working for a while. But I highly recommend you give it a try, okay? All right, that's it for today. Go visualize your success, go visualize belonging, and look for the opportunities that reveal themselves to you, okay? All right, this is the Breakthrough Creative, where we talk about the business of art and the art of business. Please, if you find this valuable, I'm going to ask you to subscribe to my channel on YouTube. If you are listening to this on a podcast, would you please subscribe to the podcast, and would you please leave me a great review? And if you know any other artists that you think this might benefit, that would be awesome if you would share it with them as well, okay? So go about visualizing your success, keep working toward what it is that you want to do, and build a career around it, okay? All right, have a great day.